Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Broad YouTube channel. As you can see, I'm not Terry. I am Aris Stamatakos. I'm joined by Costa. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good, good. And this is a brand new mini series on the channel. It's a big year four. So we're going to go through 5 players who are destined to or really should have a big year, and the reasons why the pressure's on them somewhat. Now, we're going to start with Tom Williamson. He's a little bit of an enigma in the Carlton team at the moment. He had a very good, obviously, came back from that back injury in 2020, had a good season, and then in 2021, it just didn't really click for him. Do you reckon?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, he got a really good year in before he had that back injury, which we all know about, and I think that he was starting to find form, and then it just kind of chopped and changed. But then 2020 he came back and he was looking really good, and I think in 2021 he was just thrown around too much. I think he was thrown on the wing. He wasn't really comfortable in his position, and we were trying to get him to fill that Doherty void and have him play that rebound role, which he just didn't look comfortable in. And I don't think his position is on the wing in the future either. I don't think that's where he lies. So, yeah, that's my opinion. And I think this year is like we're making this video for. It's a massive year for him to prove his spot on the list and where his position lies in the team going into the future.
So, do you say more across the half-back flank? Do you think that
Yeah, 100%.
do you think he's like? Do you reckon he's got the ability to take over someone like a Sard in terms of having that offensive and defensive ability? Do you think he's capable to start at some point during the season?
I think that he probably can't start yet. I think that he's not above Williams or Sard, who will play across that half back. But he does have that opportunity to take over that Doherty role, I think, for the first 6 months, if we're going to go with those 3 kind of rebound defenders across the back 6. We've got holes in our defense. We know that. We need someone to step up because we've lost Jones. I mean, McGovern's getting back there, but can Williamson reinvent himself to be able to fill that void that is gaping in our defense? Because we need that. We need someone to step up, and could it be him? I don't really know, but it is a big year for him to prove that. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, the key asset for Williamson is his grunt off the ball. Like he's very intense in the way he plays. He's very aggressive, and having him across half back line, getting that hunger amongst it, making it a real a dangerous environment for forwards to play on him because he'll tackle you hard. He'll be right on you all the time. I think if he can I think we all know his assets offensively. He has this really good left foot, and he's actually good enough to find goals as well, like coming in from 50. It's that defensive side of the game, if he's going to play off half back, is where he needs to improve, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of our half-backmen, right? Like Adam Sard, we've heard his news back when he was at Essendon, and he had a sook about not defending. But I don't think that was too much of a problem for us last year. Maybe it was kind of hidden by the fact that our defense was so bad last year. Yeah. But, I mean, Williams isn't great at locking down. Doherty isn't known for locking down, and Williamson falls in the same category. So we need that. We need a true lockdown defender, and we've been screaming for that for years. Really. And Jones and Wiedering were carrying the team. And now that Jones is gone, Wiedering needs some help. He can't lock them all up by himself. So that defensive aspect of the game is something that I hope Voss is honing in on the team. And it'll be more of a team defense, hopefully. So they're not going to have 60 inside 50s a game to try and defend. But at the same time, because he's not a short player either. He's quite tall and he's quite built as well. So he can become that lockdown defender that we need. So, Lockie Plowman, again, not reliable. So we need someone to stand up and be reliable. And that's why we're doing this segment on him, I think, because it is a huge year for him. It's a huge year for all those defenders, but especially him. Yeah.
Do you think he can transform himself into being that like small forward lockdown player that can play on like your Charlie Camerons and your Tom Paplus? Do you reckon that's where he could fit in?
Well, you've said it perfectly in the way that his grunt is his biggest asset. And that's what you need against those small forwards. You can't give them space. You have to be on them at all times because the ground ball gets is where their game is. So if he can play that lockdown role and just take over any small defender in the league, I can't see why that can't be his position. I can't see the assets that he doesn't have. He's not slow. He's a good overhead mark. He's good at spoiling. He just needs to, like you said, be a lot more defensively conscious, I think. Yeah. He has to do something because he's not going to get a wingman role. He's not going to be better than anyone playing on that wing. Let's be honest. Our list has gone past that now. So he's in the defense is where he finds his spot, and he's got to prove himself that he can fill a void that we need to fill. Yeah.
Do you think? I think there was a lot of talk about like this is his last year to really prove himself because there was like this massive decline last year. Do you share that sentiment that he really needs to prove himself?
I do. I think that for everyone in this series, it is a big year for them, and more so for Williamson because hasn't proved anything in 2021. Let's be honest. It's time to get a bit ruthless on our players. I don't really like going too easy on them because we have so much expectations for them, and it's a cutthroat industry. I mean, every single kid in the country wants to be an AFL footballer when they're growing up. Like it's cutthroat, it's competitive, and if you're not going to put in consistent performances, you're not going to keep your spot on the list. We saw that with Gibbons. He wasn't even the worst player on our list, I don't think, but he got cut because there were too many players fighting for his position. And the same thing's happening with Williamson. I mean, you got Zach Williams back there, like we've said. We've got Doherty, we've got Saad that can do what he does, but better. So whereabouts does he fit into this team if he's not going to prove himself within the next 12 months?
So do you think, I think you've pretty much nailed it there. Is he, obviously he's still quite young. That's probably one of the things which has saved him. He's got years, right? Do you think I personally think that he can adapt to be a little bit more attacking based off his just natural like instinct as a player. So like he's got that. He likes to attack, right? That's just that's what he's built his game on. Do you think if it doesn't work out this year, there's any chance of him transforming into another position, or is this really his last year? Do you reckon if he doesn't get it right, he's like surplus?
I just see the midfield as a group that's set at this point.
Yeah.
I see a young midfield core that we've got because we haven't got any aging midfielders except for Ed Kerno, who's now been replaced by George Hewitt. So, I mean, I don't see any of those midfielders like Cripps, Walsh, even now Doherty playing on that wing. We've got Lockie O'Brien. I could go on forever about our midfielders. They're all a young core, and I don't see them changing in and out, except for a few other players that we'll talk about in this series. I mean, I don't see him pushing his way into that midfield or even getting a chance there unless he's lighting it up in the VFL and we have to give him a chance. So, I mean, we've got players like Liam Stocker and Brody Kemp who are going to push into that midfield or have put better performances in the back six than he has really in the last 12 months. So I don't see how he pushes into that midfield above these other players. And if he does, it's kind of like we're taking a risk on him when we don't really need to. And that's the nature of the industry. It's just cutthroat. So I think that like we both said during this segment, he's got everything to prove in the next 12 months, or it could be his last season at Carlton.
Yeah, I fully agree. What do you reckon is the best case scenario for Willow this time in 9 months? If we speak about him in 9 months' time, what's the best scenario?
I think the best scenario is that he's reinvented himself into a player that can lock down opposition players. He's defensively sound. We can rely on him back there. And maybe he pushes someone like a Stocker out of the team or someone like a Lockie Plowman out of the team. And he's proven himself again, like he did in that 2020-2019 season where he was developing so well. I mean, if he shows the same thing that he did last year, that's the worst case scenario. And the best case scenario is that he develops really quickly and he becomes a reliable player in our team. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not necessarily fussed about his role because he's just like very talented that if he can just break into the side, he'll do well. Like if that makes sense. So yeah, by the end of the season, he has to be pushing the tape, like making himself undroppable pretty much. Like and when he's in the VFL, making himself that good that he has to like play. That's our thoughts on that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below about Tom Williamson and why it's a big year for him in 2022.